Assalamualaikum and very good evening, everyone. Today, me and my group mate will be presenting about Jean Piaget cognitive development theory. Next. So these are our group members. Me, Muhammad Aiman Haziq bin Zaihan, following Aisyah Nazira, Aina Afifah, and Nur Adini. Next. So, what is Jean Piaget cognitive development theory? Jean Piaget cognitive development theory explains how children develop their thinking abilities step by step as they grow older. And this development theory identified as four main stages. Start with sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational, and formal operational. Each stage represents different ways children perceive and understand the world around them. So our presentation will be focusing on stage 3 only, which is concrete operational stage. So next slide. So the concrete operational stage typically occurs between the ages of 7 to 11 years old. And at this stage, children begin to think more logically and systematically. But their reasoning is still limited to concrete or real situation. In other words, they are not yet able to handle abstract or hypothetical ideas. And the key characteristic here is logical thinking. For example, a child may begin to understand why plants need sunlight to grow. And another important concept they develop is the conservation, which is the understanding that quantity remains the same even when the shape or appearance changes. For instance, children will understand the water poured into a taller glass still has the same amount as when it was in a shorter glass. Moving on to the next slide. So, to further understand this stage, Piaget conducted several experiments to test whether children at this age could demonstrate the concept of conservation. The purpose of this experiment is to determine if a child understands that certain physical properties like volume, mass, or number remain constant despite changes in form or arrangement. For the first experiment, which is water with different height. In this experiment, the goal is to see whether the child understands that liquid quantity remains the same even if the shape of the container changes. First, the child is shown two identical glasses filled with the same amount of water. They are asked if both glasses have an equal amount, and usually they will say yes. Then water from one glass is poured into a taller and narrower container. And then the child is asked again if both containers still hold the same amount of water. And then a child in the concrete operational stage will answer yes. So this is showing that they understand that the height of the liquid doesn't mean there's more or less. It's just the shape that change, not the volume. And then this proves their understanding of conservation and their ability to use logical thinking when dealing with real physical situation. So we can see the video from the experiment one.
Okay, so tengok depan Afwan ni. Okay, tengok air dalam dua cawan ni. Sama tak jumlah dia?
Sama.
Okay, so Ica tukar. Yang ni tuang dalam ni. Okay, cuba Afwan tengok. Sama tak jumlah air ni?
Sama.
Kenapa sama?
Sebab kalau dalam cawan ni sama.
Ha.
Tapi kalau dekat sini tak sama sebab cawan dia berbeza.
Tapi airnya?
Sama.
Airnya sama. Okay.
Okay, next I will explain about experiment 2, which is 1 biscuit versus 2 half biscuits. So for the experiment, the objective is to assess whether a child understands that dividing an object does not change its mass or amount. So for the method, First, we show the child one whole biscuit on one plate and identical biscuit split into two equal half on another plate. Then we ask the child if both plates have the same amount of biscuits. So the outcome where the child will understand that both plates contain the same amount of biscuits, even though one is broken. So this experiment shows conservation of math and logical reasoning. So I will show you the video of the experiment.
Okey, sekarang ni dekat Isha ada satu biskut. Dekat Afa ada dua biskut. Afa rasa adil tak? Satu
Adil.
biskut untuk Isha, dua biskut untuk Afa. Kenapa Afa rasa adil?
Sebab ni patahkan.
Daripada satu biskut.
Ini nanti kalau sambungkan jadi satu biskut juga.
Okey.
Okay, lastly, let's look at experiment 3, which focuses on the conservation of number. So the objective of this experiment is to determine if a child can recognize that the number of items remains the same even when their spatial arrangement changes. So the methodology, we begin by placing two equal rows of candies with the same number and spacing. Then we ask the child if both rows have the same number. At this stage, they usually say yes. Next, we spread out one row so that the candies are more spaced out. So we ask again the child, which row has more candies? So the expected outcome, if the child is in stage 3, which is the concrete operational stage, she will respond that both rows have the same number of candies, showing that she understands the conservation of the number regardless of the arrangement. So let's watch the experiment.
Okay, sekarang ni dekat depan Afa ada dua baris gula-gula. Cuba tengok sama tak dua baris gula-gula ni bilangan dia?
Sama.
Okey, berapa?
5.
Okey. So, sekarang ni Elsa jarakkan macam ni. Kan? Okey, cuba tengok. Sama tak bilangan gula-gula dua baris ni?
Sama.
Kenapa sama?
Walaupun jarak jauh-jauh, bilangan tetap sama.
Okey.
So thank you Aiman, Aisha and also Aina for the explanation about those experiments. So we found out that this experiment showed that the children begin to think logically in the concrete operational stage. So they are developed the concept of conservation in understanding that physical properties like number, mass, volume stay the same even when appearance changes. Next. So this conclude that the Jean Piaget cognitive development theory helped in enhance the assessment tools where even though the Piaget simple but powerful tasks can be adapted into modern psychological assessment for cognitive development. Second, assist in identifying learning gap where teacher can use similar tasks to check if a child has developed logical and conservation skill, aiding in early intervention. Next, promote development of thinking skill. So this encourage activity that build reasoning, comparison, classification and understanding of physical properties, and lastly support effective teaching method. So this experiment highlight that the need for hands-on learning using real object to help children understand about the abstract concept. I think that's all from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.